good morning. Welcome to my channel, Miss Pretty Plants. Today I wanted to do a quick tour of my backyard, side yard, and show you some of the plants and the groupings I have in this yard and how it's looking on this fall day. It's almost late September and things are starting to wind down, but there are lots of plants that are still blooming, and also I've been working a lot on creating new spaces in the garden and adding more plants. So I just wanted to do a rundown of all the plants that I have in this garden and show you what my side yard and backyard looks like today. It's been raining and it's overcast, so it's a good day to show you what the plants are doing, and everything is looking really lush and green and healthy in the rain. So this is my side yard, and it has a little bit of a seating area that I created this summer. This part of the garden is a little bit older than the rest of it, and I'll just show you some of the plants here. So here I have the Tigerized Sumac. This is its second year. I planted it last year sometime in the fall, and it came back really healthy and lush, so I like it in this spot. As it gets taller, I'm going to prune the lower branches so that it can take more of a tree form. But because it's still very young, I'm going to give it another year's of growth and see how it does. It's supposed to have really fabulous fall color, which I'm waiting for it to start turning. I can see some of the lower leaves turning a little bit orange and yellow, so it's supposed to glow like Tigerized. So that's why I put this plant in, and I also really like the foliage on this plant. It adds a nice airy, wispy feeling to this section. And here I have some sort of a pink Spiria plant. This is also fairly new. It's I think in its second year. It's doing good. It did flower earlier in the summer, and now it's just flushing out new leaves, and this one is also supposed to turn a nice color in the fall. And beside it I have some Tyrella, I think, or I think they're called crowflower or something along those lines. They're really pretty, nice leaves, and it's nice under the shade of this Tigerized. In the back there, I'll show you what I have. I have a drift of black-eyed Susan. I have Echinacea. This thing is full of pink in the summer with all the Echinacea purpurea coneflowers. It is just stunning. Lots of bees, lots of butterflies love this section of my garden, so they're always in this section. Here is the autumn Joy Sedum blooming and looking pretty in its glory. I like the color it adds to this part at this time of the year. And then in the back there I have a quickfire hydrangea that I planted this year, so I'm really excited for it to grow bigger and kind of fill out this space in the back and provide a nice backdrop. I also have a couple of climbing roses. I think that's Jacob's Ladder climbing rose. It's done blooming, but it's put out a lot of growth this year. This is its second year, so I think next year it's going to be really beautiful. And this one is a climbing rose called Blaze, which I also planted this year, and it's put out a lot of good growth. It has bright red flowers, so they're really pretty as well. And beside it, I just moved another climbing rose, which was not doing so well in my backyard, and it's the same variety as Blaze. So I kind of put them beside each other to create a wall of climbing roses. So I'll see how this does. I have my eye on it. It's just moved here, so I think it's going to be slower compared to this other rose. They were both planted at the same time, but because it was in the backyard in a spot where it wasn't doing well, it hasn't put out as much growth as I hoped. So I'm hoping by next year they will kind of mingle with each other and kind of grow together and create a big impact together. So in the front here, I also have a balloon flower plant. I don't know if you have these in your garden, but they are really, really pretty flowers. So you can see this is a nice bluish purple flower. And then I have a perennial hibiscus here. This is a red perennial hibiscus. I don't know the variety. It's one of the older varieties. I'm not sure which one it is, but it has beautiful big red flowers. So this one is really nice. In the heart of summer it blooms, and I think it's done blooming now. I'm not sure if it's going to flush out any new buds, but we'll see. And then right beside it, I just planted this year is a Firelight Tidbit Hydrangea. So this one is new in my garden. It gave me a lot of blooms, and now it is turning this beautiful pinkish color for the fall. And then in front of it, I have some geraniums. These are also new, so they haven't flowered this year, but I think next year this area is just going to get covered in a drift of purple geraniums. I think they are Roseanne. And then there is a little mini rose here, which you can buy at the grocery store. I have a bunch of these planted throughout my garden, and they do surprisingly well. And then beside it, I have a Limelight Hydrangea. So this one, it's in its second year. I planted it last year, and this is its second year. It has put out a lot of growth. So I'm just hoping that it fills up more and it gets taller next year, and it's going to look stunning against this wall. And on this side here, I have some irises. I think these are yellow irises that a friend of mine just recently divided and gave me a few. So I'm really excited to put them in my garden and see how they're doing next year. And then this section of plants was all clearance plants that I picked up and added, because as I created this circular seeding space, I added a lot of plants here. So I have some daisy plants. I mean, they haven't done much this year. I just planted them a few weeks ago, but they are putting out a lot of growth. So next year this should all fill out with a lot of flowers. I have some roses. I think these are drift roses, pink drift roses. I have another rose back there. I think this one is the pink rose. I don't remember the name, but it's also looking very healthy and putting out a lot of new leaves. I have some coneflowers. I think this is a mix or Cheyenne spirit, which is a bunch of different colors together. So these are also really pretty. And I think I also have some lavender planted here. So these are two different varieties of lavender. So they are planted along here as well. So it creates a nice circle of plants around the seeding area. And I also have a Dianthus here, which is this beautiful purple color. I see one flower that is blooming, so it's pretty. But it's almost done. It's blooming, but it is flushing out some new buds. If I keep deadheading it regularly, it might give me more flowers. So I'll move along to this side. So in the back there, I have Rose of Sharon. So this is a double Rose of Sharon by Proven Winners. It's a magenta purple color. So I have two of these planted beside each other. They were kind of separate, but I moved them together because I kind of want them to grow as one large shrub. So I want them to touch each other, and I want them to kind of create this big impact here. I don't know if any of you have ever done this where they've been planted together to create a bigger impact. That's what I'm trying to achieve. I'm experimenting with this, and I'll keep you updated on how this goes and how this looks as it grows. So that's the idea there. And then I have a rose planted right in front of them. I think this is also a pink rose. And then there are some lily bulbs that I've planted right in front, and these are also new this year. As you can see, there is some cardboard showing through beneath these. I use the no-dig method here, so I think you can see there is cardboard, and it's worked really well. It's kind of allowed me to plant around the cardboard. So if you're not familiar with this method, it is a good method. If you want to create an instant flower bed, you can use the no-dig method. And then in the back there, I have some false sunflowers. There's a couple of them there, and some lambs urine at the bottom of those, so I'm hoping it fills in. And just look at this beautiful, beautiful tree. This is my, I think it's a mountain ash tree, and every 2 years it gets these beautiful orange berries. But sadly this tree is on a decline, and it's kind of slowly dying, but while it's living, I'm enjoying every branch that lives and the beauty it's giving me and to this garden. I'll be really sad when this one completely dies and I have to take it down, but for now I'm really excited it's here and it's giving me these beautiful, beautiful berries. So down below this section, I've also added some little plants. I have a grass here. I have some white coneflowers, some coneflower mix, some salvia. So this is kind of going to be a nice pollinator garden because it has a mix of all different plants. I have a milkweed plant in the back there, which I recently moved to this area, so it's looking a little sad, but I think it'll make it and it'll survive. And I will collect some seed pods from these seed pods that are kind of slowly drying, and I'll add them to other areas in my garden for the butterflies. And then this is the area that I have been working on. I posted some videos on the plants that I collected for this area or found deals on, and I've added to this section. So I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. I have a row of lavender going down the pathway. All this was grass this summer, and I have completely removed the grass and I've slowly started to add plants. I have Echinacea plants here, and I have a couple of Bobo hydrangeas that I added here. I also have a bunch of Summerific Hibiscus. These are perennial hibiscuses that I've added here in a different variety of colors. There is the berry awesome, there is cranberry crush, and there's French vanilla. So there's going to be a nice array of colors here. I like it. It's going to be quite colorful. And then in the back there, I have a pinky winky hydrangea that I recently planted. I have some I think this is a rose glow barberry that I had lying around in my garden, and I've moved it several times, and I think this might be its final destination. I have some other blue hydrangeas that I picked up at Costco. They are growing well too. They are putting out new leaves, so we'll see how they do next year. Some lilies, some black-eyed Susan plants. I also planted a couple of Oh So Easy lemon zest yellow roses. As you can see, they are really pretty, and lots of buds, like more to come. Like this is going to be non-stop, I think, till frost. And then I have the Sonic Reblooming Lilac here, which is also putting out some new flowers. It's nice to see color at this time of the year, so I'm really excited about this shrub. I also have some coneflowers here that I picked up on clearance. The color is going to be green and pink. We'll see what this becomes. I also have a rose bush that I transplanted here from another section of my garden. This is also yellow and orange roses. And then I have this firetail fleece flower that I recently added as well. I really like the color it brings to this area. And then I have another hibiscus. I think this is a summerific, very awesome as well. And then again, there's a bunch of lavender lining this whole area. I also have a hosta here. There's 3 hostas here and a variegated hosta against this silver leaf dogwood. So this one is also a new shrub that I added this year, and it's doing well. I mean, it was up against the fence and it wasn't really doing really well, so I moved it over a bit and I rearranged this area a bit, and added a little redbud sapling that someone gave me, and I'm really excited for this one to grow and become a tree. So that's been added brand new this year. I know that it may take a while for it to grow tall, but I'm excited it's here, and I can't wait for this to make it its home and grow a beautiful tree over here. The other plants in this area is also a bunch of little black-eyed Susan seedlings that I collected from different areas of my garden. You know, they like to self-seed and move, so I have always extras that I can move in other parts of my garden, so I put them here. I have a little quick fire hydrangea in the back there. I have some clematis as well going up this trellis. These are new this year, so I'm hoping next year they kind of flesh out new growth and give me lots of blooms. We'll keep you posted. And then in the front here, I planted the 3 Yuki cherry blossom deutzia plants. So I'm really excited. They're looking very healthy and happy in this position, and I'm looking forward to the blooms they're going to give me in the spring and the color this fall that they're going to turn. And then in the back there I have, so this is a little planter I have with mint and lemon balm. It's doing really well and it's giving me lots of mint and lemon balm. And one tip I will give you about mint and lemon balm is always put it in a container, because they will run away if you don't put it in a container and take over your garden. So far it stayed contained in here. As you can see, it loves spilling out of the side of the container, but for now I'm going to keep an eye on it and make sure it stays in this container. In the back there I have a PG hydrangea. So this is a little plant that I got. It's doing well. It's settling in its new spot this year, and I'm hoping in the next few years it's going to grow into a beautiful tree-ish shrub that I can shape as a tree eventually in this area. And here also I have another Weigela. This is not a reblooming Weigela, but I can see it's never rebloomed, but I can see that there is a little bud here where it is starting to bloom again. So it has beautiful red blooms. So this is a nice Weigela. It's, I think, in its 2nd or 3rd year, and it's doing really well in this location. So as I go forward, these are my little lime hydrangeas that I rescued from a grocery store, and I planted them here and they are doing really well. I also put some marigolds in this area. I'll see how they do, and maybe next year I can just put some seeds here and grow some annuals. That's the plan. And back here I planted a Firelight Hydrangea. This is also doing really well. I planted this yesterday, and also this Temple of Bloom 7 sunflower shrub here. So and another lavender that I rescued from a different section of my garden. So this is like the side garden, and I'll walk you through this portion of my garden. So the rest of this portion here is a very shady area. I have Norway Maples, very hard to grow things under it, as you may already know, but I've managed to, you know, start different beds under these trees over time. I have a little periwinkle ground cover growing under here. I have sedum that has managed to do well here. So if you're looking for plant ideas on what to grow under your maple trees, I'll give you some in this video that are doing well in my garden. The hostas are doing really well. I mean, they are not as fast growing here under the tree, but they are surviving and growing. So this is this hosta's 1st year, and it's doing really well. I have some Solomon seal, which is doing really well. So as you can see, this is beautiful in the spring. It gives you these beautiful white bell-shaped flowers in the spring. So this one is doing really well. I have a Brunnera plant here, which is not doing so well. This is its 2nd year, but it survived. It came back. It gave me some leaves. So I'm hoping that next year it's going to do better than this. I also have some other hostas here, and other shade plants. I have a Lungwort Pulmonary plant here, which does really good and blooms well in the spring with these pink and purple flowers. So this plant is really good. I'm hoping it spreads more and creates more of a mound here, but they're taking their time, and it's okay, because this section is all new from last year, and it's going to take a few years for things to really grow and come into their shape. So this is another hosta I have here. I have some Columbine as well here, which is self-seeded a bit, and it's doing well. So it's self-seeded itself here, and there are a couple of plants there as well. And I also have more Solomon seal on this side, which is doing really well. And another Hosta here as well, which is also looking really good and healthy. And then on this side of my garden, I have another shade garden area, which is also fairly new. The grass really doesn't grow under these trees, as you can see. So I'm trying to slowly extend my gardens out so that I can have more garden space and less grass to worry about here in the backyard. The plan is to just leave the grass in the middle and just stick with that. So this is another shade garden area. It has a nice chartreuse green Hosta here, which really adds a pop of color. There are lots of grasses that will grow in the shade, so this one is doing really well here. I don't know the name. I think it's some Evergold variety, but I don't remember the name of this grass, but it's doing well. I have this huge tough stuff mountain hydrangea here, which I also recently planted and was recommended by the nursery that it's going to do well in a shady location. So I'm going to try it out and see how this does here. It fills up a nice amount of space, and I think if it blooms next year and gives me these beautiful lace cap flowers, I'll be happy. So it has these beautiful lace cap flowers. I think that turn either pink or blue based on your soil, but the soil here is not the best, so I don't expect them to be any vibrant color. It may just be a pale pink here. We'll see. And then I have a bunch of other shade plants over here. I added some Columbines, I added some bleeding hearts. I think this is goldenrod. This one, it gets these yellow flowers in the summer. I added a Shadowland Vulala Hosta here, which is supposed to get really big, so I'm really excited about this one. I like the variegation on the leaves of this one compared to the original Empress Vu Hosta. So this one is really nice. I have a bunch of hellebores here that I also planted, so I'm really excited to see how they turn out. I have a fall Spiria in the back there. I have some other hostas here. I think these are Sum and Substance hostas. There's one there and there's one over here. A lot of more hellebores. I have some ferns, which I'm hoping they take over, because the problem under maple trees is that the soil is really dry and it's not the most ideal condition for ferns. But I'm hoping that, you know, some of the ferns take on and spread here, because I really like the look of ferns in the shade garden. So we'll see. This is all work in progress, very new and developing. So this is the shade garden area as it looks today, and I'm excited on how this turns out next year and what plants thrive and make it and do well in this area, and the plants that don't do so well. So I'll post an update on how these plants are doing and you know, which ones, how they look, how they grow next year. I'm really excited. It's come a long way from just being just a patch of land where there's no grass growing and it's dark, and it's been so exciting to add a bunch of plants and create life here and to enjoy this garden in its potential and what it has to offer in the future years. So I'm really excited. So this is like a little synopsis of my shade garden in the back. I have a bunch of other plants, as you can see, which I will quickly run through. This is another section of my garden where I have a lot of hydrangeas. I have a strawberry Sunday hydrangea in the back there. I have a little lime. I have a bunch of other tough stuff type mountain hydrangeas at the bottom that create a ring. And I have black-eyed Susan in there. I have some peacock. I think these are peacock lilies or something along those lines. Some of them are blooming and some of them are just leaves. So I think next year I will get more blooms on them. I have some lilies here. I have another little quickfire hydrangea here. I have a magnolia shrub here, which is I think Magnolia Susan, which I also planted earlier in spring this year. So it has these nice dark deep purple flowers. So I'm excited about this one. And then I have a lemon lace elderberry right beside it. So I like how a bunch of green colors look in this bed, along with some roses here. This is the Sonorita rose by Proven Winners, so I put this one here. I also got this one on clearance at a grocery store, and it was kind of in rough shape, but it's doing well here. It's settling in. And have some blanket flowers in the front here. This part of the garden doesn't get a whole bunch of sun. It gets a lot of sun, but dappled and partial because of this tree. But more or less it does get a lot of sun, so the plants are doing really well in this spot. And on this other side I have literally a rose garden. I have so many roses here, and they are all doing well. They're all putting out new growth and doing really well. And I have a variegated hibiscus here. Has nice red blooms. It's kind of done blooming right now. And some lavender, some speedwell. I also have Miss Violet Butterfly Bush by Proven Winners. This one is still blooming and doing really well. I have a bunch of Echinacea flowers, as you can see. I have peony plants. There's 2 peony plants here as well, and a Limelight Prime Hydrangea. This one is new this year as well, and it is starting to bloom and looks really pretty in this spot. It's a really healthy, nice shrub, and if you don't have it in your garden, I highly recommend it compared to the original Limelight. It's a lot more sturdier, and the branches are stronger and holding up really well so far from what I can see. This one is a Reblooming Lilac that I have in the back here. It's also doing really well, and I'm hoping it gives me lots of blooms next year. So, and this area is kind of like my little vegetable jungle, giving me a lot of tomatoes and other vegetables, doing really well in this spot. So lots of herbs, lots of little plants. Hopefully I can plant this part better next year, but oh boy, it gave me so many tomatoes, and still doing good, and I think lots more to come. So here it is. This is the backyard section of my garden. It also has a row of sedums here, which I'm hoping it fills out this area. And yeah, so this is the backyard garden. I have a little arch in the middle, and I planted a rose of Sharon right in the middle there. So hoping this fills out and looks good eventually. I have some ajuga planted here, which I hope takes over and fills out this area really nicely. And here is the rose of Sharon. So yeah, the garden is doing really well. It's looking really good. It's almost end of September and it's still doing really well. So I'm really excited about it. I have this beautiful dahlia still blooming. I want to show you this. It's gorgeous. Look how beautiful this is. And then as I go around this part, this is also a new section that I added this year, if you believe me, because I did a lot of gardening this year and I created a lot of new areas in my garden, and I'm so excited to share this with you. So this part of the garden also has a mix of flowers. It has another Limelight Prime Hydrangea. It has a vanilla strawberry hydrangea. It has a black winecraft smoke bush that I added there, as you can see, to add a little tinge of purple in the backdrop there. I have a black lace elderberry plant as well there, so it will be nice to have a little bit of dark in the back there and add those pops of purple in this garden. There's also another reblooming lilac there. There is, you know, a bunch of coneflowers. There's a butterfly bush. I have some irises. I have some other sedums here. These are the, I think, Ruby Dazzle or something along those lines sedum. They're so pretty. The leaf color is also really pretty. I have some geranium here, which is also flowering, looking really pretty. I have a couple of peach trees that I also planted in this area. They were bare roots, so they are slowly coming into their own. We'll see how they do next year. And then I have a row of these carpet roses, pink carpet roses here as well. I have 4 shrubs here, so we'll see next year how these do and give me roses. I have some catmint that I also planted here. It's doing really well. Bees are always on this plant, so if you're looking to attract pollinators, don't forget to include catmint in your garden. And then this section also has a bunch of plants. It has Limelight, sorry, this one is a Zinfandel Hydrangea. I also have a Vigila in the back there. I think this is a Sonic Rebloom red Hydrangea, sorry, Vigila in the back here, and it is doing well. I mean, it wasn't doing so well earlier. I had to dig it up and loosen the root ball a bit and put it back in because it was really drying out. So I had to do a little bit of work on this plant and replant it, and I think now it's doing really well, and it should do really well next year. It's getting a lot of rain, things are settling in. I have a quick fire there, hydrangea as well. It's settling really well. I have another silver leaf dogwood. This is a lilac shrub that I've had for a few years. It was more in a shady area, and I moved it to this section of my garden, and it's a little bit in transplant shock, but I think it's gonna do okay. It wasn't really blooming all these years. It's been 5 years and it hasn't bloomed, so I figured I'd move it into a more sunnier location and see if it does better there. If not, I might replace it with something else. But I like the shape of the leaves, I like the greenery it brings, and I'm hoping next year it gives me some blooms, or if not, the following year. I'll still leave it in my garden for a few years and see what it does in this new location. And then this part is mostly like a shadowland kind of garden. Like, it's got a mix of hostas, it has a yucca. I did try elephant ears this year, but I think I started them really late, so they only gave me a couple of leaves. But I'm gonna dig these bulbs out and save them for next year, and hoping to plant them again next year in here. I have some anemones here, Japanese anemones. They were struggling a bit, but now they're doing well with more water and rain. They're starting to bloom now. And then what else do I have here? I have a lot of old plants here from before. There are some hostas. There is a sweet almond shrub. This one is covered in pink flowers in the spring. It's really pretty in the spring. And then this is a fragrant snowball viburnum that was struggling in another section of my garden, and I moved it here. It looks like it's still struggling, but I'm keeping it watered, and I'm hoping next year it comes back and it gives me, you know, the flush of leaves and flowers. We'll see. I don't have a lot of hope for this one, but you know, as gardeners, we have to keep trying, and we have to wait till, you know, it's completely over before we call it. So I think for me, that is with this plant, I have hope, and I'm hoping that it's able to survive here. And then I have a couple of bluebird hydrangeas here. These are also serrata hydrangeas. I planted them new this year as well, and they've put out a lot of new growths. I'm hoping next year it gives me a lot of blooms. These were just bought at my grocery store, and they're doing really well. They were like $9 and really healthy plants and doing really well in this. It's got like a semi pot shade location here, so they're really adapting to this spot. And if everything else doesn't work in this section of my garden, I might just do what's working and more of it in this section next year. So we'll see how this evolves. I have some irises here that a good friend of mine gave me from her garden. So these are I think bearded irises. They are purple. And then here I planted an Aphrodite shrub by Proven Winners. This is supposed to have magnolia-like flowers in summer. So this is its first year and it hasn't bloomed this year, and I know it needs to mature a bit before it can bloom. So I'm really excited for this to fill out this area and give me those beautiful purple blooms. This is another salvia I have in this location. I have some hollyhocks in the back there, which I'm trying for the first time in my garden. Let's see what they do next year. I know next year they should give me some blooms. Here I have another quick fire hydrangea. Yeah, so this part of my garden is also doing really well. It is September end and everything is looking great. Everything is blooming. I think it's in its final blooming stages, but still looking quite colorful and bright. And I'm really happy with all the layout and the plant selection that I've added in these areas in my backyard. And I'm so happy to see a garden as opposed to just grass in this backyard, and just how it's evolved over time. I will include a picture of what this looked like before all these plants existed here, and you'll be amazed how much beauty plants can add to your space and enrich the garden space. So here they are, and everything they've done in just one season. So they're all doing really well, and they've adapted to their new locations, and I'm really excited to see how this turns out next year, how things shape up and evolve. So I hope you really enjoyed this video, watching this video with me, and as I take a tour of my garden and how this space is changing, evolving with the seasons. And yeah, so this is everything in my backyard garden and my side garden, and I hope you're having a really fabulous day and enjoying it. I'm enjoying this rainy day out in my garden, sipping my coffee, talking to all of you. I hope if you like this video, please don't forget to hit the like button, and if you want to continue seeing videos from me, please hit the subscribe button. I would love to keep giving you ideas and show you my garden and share my garden with you, and hoping to gather inspiration from you and tips from you. Please comment if you have any suggestions, any ideas, if you have these plants in your garden, and what do you think of these combinations that I have created out here in my garden. Thanks for watching. Have a fabulous day.